The beginning of my journey as a memory care caregiver began last summer in an assisted living facility. I had previously enjoyed visiting nursing homes, and the mission of enhancing the lives of seniors was admirable to me. So I was excited to take the job. As a part of my training, I was required to watch videos on how to greet residents in the morning with a smile, how to dress responsibly with style, and how to help the residents accomplish daily life tasks like tying their hair back or making their bed. The training made the job seem easy. I really thought, this will be simple. How hard can it be? During my first week of work, I was required to run plates during lunch and dinner, do the dishes, sweep and mop the floors, and also do the laundry. While these tasks aren't the most challenging on their own, they were compounded by much more complex demands. I also had to ensure the safety and well-being of around 40 residents, each with their own psychological and physiological needs. So in between doing dishes, I would help a resident change out of soiled clothes, cut residents' food so they could eat, walk someone to the bathroom, or comfort someone who's having a panic attack because they thought they'd been abandoned by their family. People assume that places like nursing homes are boring places, that all residents do is sleep and watch television. This is not true. The mundane is never mundane, especially for someone with dementia. There are moments of great joy, like winning a bingo game or spending time with a newborn grandchild. New relationships are formed, and new hobbies are found. There's also a lot of deep reflection and emotion, like sincere gratitude. However, there's also emotions such as extreme confusion, which can lead to some of the most unique of adventures, and also loneliness and sadness that can be triggered while doing the most seemingly simple things. One time, I was pouring drinks during dinner when a resident tugged me at my apron. She looked me in the eyes, and she asked me earnestly, "Where am I going to go when I die? I think today's the day." As you can see, being a caregiver is no easy task, and being cared for is no easy experience. For some of you in this room, these anecdotes may be surprising. You might be learning for the first time what grandma's experience in long-term care is like. For others of you, this talk might resonate with you. You might be one of the 41.8 million Americans providing unpaid care to an adult over the age of 50. Whether you're a caregiver or a college student or someone in some form of assisted living, this talk pertains to you. The goal of this talk is to empower all of us to face the obstacles of long-term care with courage and skill rather than cynicism and neglect. And in order to empower ourselves, we must first become educated advocates. We must understand the problems being faced by both caregivers and the elderly, specifically in the context of assisted living. We must observe the deeper underlying societal issue, the root of the problems, so we can make long-lasting change. And finally, we will explore the concrete steps that we can take in order to preserve the inherent dignity of those in their final season of life. So, as a part of becoming educated advocates, what are the problems that are being experienced by many of those in elder care? I believe there are 4 important problems that we must be mindful of, and the first is elder abuse. According to a recent study, 1 out of Americans over the age of 60 have experienced some form of elder abuse. Elder abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, and it can persist in forms of passive confinement, willful deprivation without consent, and also financial exploitation. Around 5 million elders experience elder abuse each year, with those who are most vulnerable, those who experience social isolation or mental impairment, with the highest risk of abuse. The issue we have is the declining rates of mental health exacerbated by ageism, elder abuse, and loneliness. 14% of elders over the age of 60 live with and depression being the most common, according to the WHO. A Gen Z, 14%? It doesn't seem like a lot of people. About their mental health struggles. However, many seniors suffer in silence, resulting in a much more shocking statistic that estimates that around a quarter of deaths by suicide are from those 60 and over. The third issue we need to be mindful of is financial insecurity. For those 60 plus, 80% do not have the financial resources to cover long-term care. Medicare does not provide financial aid for long-term care, and Medicaid will provide some aid only to those who are under their poverty benchmark. Due to the complexities of Medicare and Medicaid, what ends up happening is that many seniors who would benefit from the services offered by nursing homes are instead home alone with limited resources. However, research suggests that there are 2.5 million vulnerable individuals inside nursing homes and assisted living that are actually at a higher risk for abuse. As you can see, these issues are intersectional, making it a very complicated decision on whether to go into assisted living or to stay at home. The fourth and final issue we need to be mindful of is chronic illnesses and falls. Older adults are at a higher risk for chronic illnesses, and 1 out of 3 fall each year, with falls being the leading cause of injury. As you can see, the majority of these problems are externally imposed, making the solutions ones of social responsibility. Now that we've discussed the issues experienced by many of those in elder care, we must now discuss the problems being faced by caregivers, those providing the continuity of care for an aging individual. As for industry caregivers, they are short-staffed. 3 out of 5 nursing homes have limited available spots due to staffing shortages, and 3 out of 4 nursing homes believe they'll have to close their facilities because of this problem. It is really easy to understand why this problem exists. Industry caregivers are not treated well. They often work dozens of hours of overtime with limited sleep, supervision, proper training, and proper compensation. In 2021, the median wage for Texas's home health and personal care industry was $22,500 a year. Not only are caregivers poorly compensated, but they also experience violence from their work environment with limited protection. Both industry caregivers and unpaid caregivers are at a high risk for mental and physical exhaustion, something called compassion burnout. Many Americans caregive in addition to having full-time jobs and other important responsibilities. According to Blue Cross Blue Shield, caregivers are at a higher risk for the following mental and physical health problems: adjustment disorder, anxiety, major depression, tobacco use disorder, obesity, and hypertension. Just as parents on a plane are told to put on their oxygen mask on first before their child's, in the same way, caregivers must take care of themselves. If caregivers are neglected, then who they care for will be neglected, and a cycle of neglect will persist. Imagine being an industry caregiver. You have to go into work hungry, tired, burnt out, but still having to provide for the needs of a floor of residents without adequate support. A deficiency in healthy work environments will result in a deficiency in care, and a deficiency in care will result in an accumulation of needs. However, a caregiver may not have the support to address those needs, resulting in both caregiver and elder neglect. We have discussed the problems being faced by caregivers and who they care for, including the cycle of neglect. Keep in mind that the statistics I shared do not highlight the disappointing ways that race, gender, and socioeconomic status can exacerbate these issues. However, do not be dismayed and do not lose hope. There is a way to make things better, and it begins by addressing the root of the problems. The root of the problems is this: society overlooks the inherent value of human life. People forget that we retain our humanity in all stages of life. The devaluation of elderly life is seen in more than just the devastating statistics I shared on elder abuse. It's also demonstrated in the caregiver's wages. A caregiver in Texas can be paid $8.90 an hour, while a Frappuccino can be priced the same amount. Why is this? While there are many contributing factors to this low number, it ultimately comes down to what our society values. Because people diminish the value of the elderly, the value of assisted living is diminished, and the value of caregivers is diminished, so that insurance companies, independent hirers, or even people donating to nursing homes overlook the disparity that exists. Looking beyond corporations, systems, and wages, why is it that the average American is willing to spend 2 or more hours a day watching television instead of taking some of that time to spend with the parent or grandparent? Once again, it comes down to what our society values. If we saw the elderly as we should, then we would see signs of elder abuse. We would see if someone needs a ride to the hospital. We would see if someone was suicidal. And this brings me to my final point of my talk. As people who wish to preserve the inherent dignity of those in their final season of life, then we have a responsibility to act on our conviction. First things first, we have to change our mindsets and we have to stop being ageist. We have to confront ageism in healthcare, hiring processes, and especially the beauty industry. Seriously think about what dyeing gray hair or getting Botox to fix wrinkles means. The cosmetic industry perpetuates the stigma that aging is ugly, a problem, when it really is a privilege. We should see our gray hairs as testaments to our experience, as smile lines as testament to the joy that we've had. University students, if we do not change our perception of aging now, just think about how you will be treated and perceived in your sunset years. The second thing we need to do is pay attention to signs of elder abuse. Ask questions if you notice unusual bruises or abrasions or unexplained withdrawals from normal activities. Speak up if you see someone's finances being taken advantage of. If you're ever unsure about what to do, the NCEA lists helpful resources and a number to call for further guidance, and they'll be provided at the end of the slides. Third, see people as they are and don't put people into boxes. I was talking to someone the other day about their experience being a caregiver for their mother, and they said, "She's hobbled, she can't remember things anymore. That is not my mother." This is a sentiment that many people can relate to. With shared memories disappearing and hardship on the horizon, it is easy to feel disconnected to someone and easier to put them into a box. Yet cynicism creates unnecessary chasms. As a caregiver, I worked with a woman who did not communicate. She couldn't remember a single one of her family members, and she could not perform any one of her daily life tasks on her own. It was easy for people to put her into a box of being incapable and apathetic. But one day, she was given a baby doll, and it was like she came to life. All of a sudden, she was speaking more, and she was treating this baby doll as if she were a real, live baby. Even though this woman couldn't feed and clothe herself, she was feeding and clothing her baby, nurturing her, cuddling her, humming to her. She loved this doll so much, and it demonstrated how her sense of motherhood could not be erased. Even though it is extremely difficult to watch a loved one live with a neurodegenerative disease in their old age, it is important to remember that the essence of who they are and their humanity is still there. It is important to continue treating them as an individual. Don't look down on them and don't infantilize them. Don't assume that they no longer have preferences, priorities, agency, and emotions. Don't assume that they lack affection for you, because that's not true. Fourth, dedicate time. Dedicate time to visiting a nursing home, running an errand for an elderly neighbor, or playing your part in policymaking and reform. University students, I especially challenge you to calling a grandparent once a week. Don't do it because you pity them. Do it because they're remarkable people who can help put your life into perspective. I had the honor of writing my grandmother's obituary a month ago, and to do so, I relied on some notes that I had taken when having discussions with her. And I really enjoyed those discussions. Just hearing her talk and listening to her stories about her life was so inspiring. She had seen more of the world than I might ever see, lived out her dream, and was an embodiment of tenacity and grace. Trust me, it is worthwhile to talk to your grandparents if you can. Lastly, but not lastly really, caregivers. If you're a caregiver, remember to practice self-care. It's easier said than done, but do it for the sake of the person you're caring for. If you know a caregiver, ask how you can nice right now. Think of an encouraging message that you can send them or something else that might brighten their day. As for the industry caregivers, advocate on their behalf. If you notice that your caregiver is being overworked, tell their manager that you are dissatisfied with your loved one's care because their caregiver is being unprotected. And also, don't forget to say thank you. That will go a long way. On this slide, I have listed helpful resources in case if you're interested in knowing more about caregiving or elder abuse prevention. I hope that this talk has been empowering to us all. May we create a world where both young and old can live flourishing lives and where caregiving can be seen as a privilege rather than a problem.